Ouija Gone Wrong, the 1995 Caracas Possession Incident. It started as a joke between teenagers. A piece of paper, a glass cup, some scribbled letters. "Let's contact a spirit," they said. But what answered wasn't friendly. What answered didn't leave. What followed became one of Venezuela's most terrifying and least spoken about possession cases, involving mass hysteria, supernatural violence, and a government-sanctioned investigation that mysteriously vanished from public records. This is the chilling, mostly buried story of the 1995 Caracas Possession Incident, when a simple Ouija game at a Catholic high school unleashed something far darker than anyone expected. Forgotten but not gone is the introduction. If you ask the majority of people in Venezuela about the Caracas Possession Incident, they will most certainly give you a worried expression or pretend they have never heard of it. That should not come as a surprise. The occurrence, which took place in October 1995 at Colegio Maria Auxiliadora, was promptly repressed by the authorities, buried by the church, and disregarded by the media outlets. A sheet of notebook paper was used to draw the board, the letters and numbers were put in a specific order, and a little glass cup was placed inverted so that it could be used as a planchette later on. Initially, there was no action taken. It was a laugher. We made fun of each other. Subsequently, the cup moved in a wacky and slow manner. It was presumed that one of them was leading the charge. Subsequently, however, it emerged from the paper with a tiny lift and then fell with a loud crack. Even though the glass did not shatter, one of the girls started screaming. The woman reported that she felt a chilly breath on her neck. A further girl lost consciousness. Another third started to tremble. In a matter of minutes, the entire classroom was in a state of disarray. Educators have arrived. The 5 young ladies were accompanied to the medical facility. That evening, however, things took a turn for the worse. The second part, is it mass hysteria or possession? One of the girls was transported to Hospital Vargas at 2:17 in the morning. She was convulsing violently, her eyes were rolled back, and she was speaking in what one nurse characterized as perfect, fluent Latin. She had never gone to school for Latin. By the time the next morning rolled around, all 5 of the girls were displaying upsetting symptoms. 2 of them were silent and gazed off into the stars. One of them had fresh and bleeding claw scars down her arms, but there was no obvious cause for them. There was a nurse who was bitten by a girl so hard that she broke her skin. After making an effort to consume pages from a Bible, the final girl was restrained with fasteners. Almost immediately, the school decided to suspend lessons. It has been communicated to the Archdiocese of Caracas. Father Alberto Mendoza, an elderly Jesuit priest who had previously worked as an exorcist, was called in at that point to evaluate the girls. The results of his investigation were never made public, but according to reports, a letter that was stolen and addressed to the Archbishop had the following line: "What I saw in those females is not something that can be seen in this world. Neither of them is acting. One of them was aware of some aspects of my childhood that I chose not to discuss. Someone other even called me by the name of my mother, even though she has been dead for 30 years. The classroom becomes unfriendly in the third part. Following the event, classroom B4 was quarantined and locked down. However, during the 2 days when it was vacant, the security crew and the janitors reported various weird activities, including the following: lights flickering for no apparent reason. This room has windows that are shuttered, therefore cold drafts are coming through. A male voice with a deep, guttural quality could be heard whispering from within the sealed classroom. It was reported by one of the janitors that he saw a figure crouching behind the teacher's desk, but as he opened the door, the creature disappeared. On October 16th, there was a mass held on the grounds of the school as an emergency. On the other hand, on the same day, one of the females who were possessed attempted to jump off a balcony that was located on the 2nd floor, alleging that the man in black is calling me to the fire. The instructors were able to hold her back. In the same evening, another girl went into a trance-like state, and while she was in this state, she drew symbols and markings on page after page all over her notebook. After some time had passed, specialists stated that the symbols were identical to those that were utilized in pre-Columbian demonology and old pagan hexes, neither of which the girl had any use for. It started to get out there. The students' parents withdrew them. News reporters have arrived, and after that, there was complete silence. The fourth part. Caracas enters a state of silence. As of the 20th of October, local media such as El Nacional and Últimas Noticias, who had initially begun reporting the topic, abruptly ceased their coverage. And in an interview, they made the following claim. "We were instructed by the church to forget, as an instance of mass hysteria, to put it another way. But I witnessed what transpired with those young ladies. When I looked into their eyes, I saw hatred. And I don't believe that it originated from them. Even to this day, the school has not made any statements regarding the incident. What about the young ladies? Except for one, none of them were found in the public record. No use of social media, not even interviews. There is no trace." The fifth section, so what occurred? Several conflicting theories include the following. Hysteria in the masses. As a textbook example of collective hysteria, the episode was provoked by suggestion, tension, and the emotional volatility that is characteristic of adolescence, according to psychologists. How exactly do you describe this? Is it the scratches? The language of the ancients? Which symbols correspond to the prohibited grimoires? Second, repressed trauma sick. The girls may have been struggling with repressed abuse or trauma, which manifested as psychosomatic possession, according to another theory for the girls' condition. However, once more, how would you explain the behavior of the room itself? If the glass were to levitate, which one is the janitor's job? Third, possession by the demonic. There is a widespread belief among members of the religious community that the girls unintentionally brought a malevolent entity into both themselves and the school. The warning that Father Mendoza issued, which is currently being whispered among Caracas's most senior priests, was as follows. They made a message to something, and it responded to them. It desired to be allowed in. It continues to do so. Conclusion, the door they should never have opened. Today, Colegio Maria Auxiliadora still operates, but students claim classroom B4 is haunted. Sometimes during exams, they hear scratching on the door from the inside. Some nights, the power flickers only in that wing. One janitor still leaves salt lines by the windows, just in case. And in Caracas, the story lives on in whispers. Don't play games you don't understand. Don't break the circle. And never speak to what you can't see, because sometimes the thing you call doesn't go back. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button, subscribe for more real horror tales, and let us know in the comments.